She said to the witch, "Aren't you broads a little old to be trick or treating?" The witch responded, "We'll be younger in the morning." She said, "Yeah, sure. Me too." Recognize this quote's movie? Stay tuned to find out or check out the title of this episode of Talking Pictures Trivia.
Welcome to Talking Pictures Trivia, the podcast in which a group of geographically challenged friends explore movies through trivia as an excuse to keep their friendships alive. I'm one of these friends and today's host, Nick, and with me is...
Tom.
And KJ.
Today we're departing from our regularly scheduled programming to deliver you a rapid-fire format borrowed from our Talking TV Trivia subseries. We'll start with 4 essential trivia questions. The first question is worth 1 point, and each question after that is worth 1 more point. Then we'll follow it up with a theme discussion, this week being annual holiday tradition films. Tom, tell us about today's movie.
Walking up to theaters in 1993, we would have had to choose between Sylvester Stallone's Cliffhanger, Super Mario Bros., Jurassic Park, Last Action Hero, Dennis the Menace, Sleepless in Seattle, Rookie of the Year, Weekend at Bernie's 2, Free Willy, Robin Hood, Men in Tights, The Fugitive, Cool Runnings, Demolition Man, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Rudy, Look Who's Talking Now, RoboCop 3, Addams Family Values, Mrs. Doubtfire, and today's movie, Hocus Pocus. Nick will be our questionnaire today. Nick, what is Hocus Pocus all about?
3 witches, the Sanderson Sisters, come back after they are killed 300 years ago to continue to prey on children in attempts to extend their life and maintain a youthful demeanor.
It's time for question 1.
In what year did the witches get hanged?
Locked in.
Locked in, but I had to do some math, and I'm nervous about fence posting.
Did you carry the one?
Well, I did it in the spreadsheet. So, however, I'm not sure if the spreadsheet uses modern math or.
Okay, KJ, start us up.
I have 1693, but again, I'm nervous. Was this the 301st year or was this the 300th year? But 1693.
I had the same.
It is definitely 1693. When the movie starts, they open up a book, the old open up a book trope. And on top of that, the history book is 1693. Mm-hmm. So you're locked in. And there are references, even in my intro to what this movie is about, that they got killed 300 years ago. And I believe this movie was made in 1993. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Right down to the map.
It's time for question 2.
How did Max first trick the Sanderson sisters? And if you can be specific on something of the strategy, you will get an additional point.
Locked in?
Locked in. I just don't know how specific I can be.
KJ, try to be specific.
Well, go for it. Go for it, friend.
So the way he tricked the Sanderson sisters was first he got a working, presumably Zippo lighter. So that was step 1, was to get this lighter that was full of fuel. He then hopped up on this beam of wood that was used often throughout the movie in this house museum. They must have been excited when they put it together and they wanted people up there. So he goes up there.
I think it's a loft. That's all it is, right?
Was there room up there? I thought it was just a beam. Was there
I thought it was a loft also.
Oh, all right. Space. That would make a lot more sense if there was a ladder.
Sorry to interrupt your answer.
No, that's okay. Good. So to be more specific, it might have been a loft. And then he says, "I'm gonna do the reign of terribleness." I forget. But then he takes the lighter to do the working fire sprinkler system in this museum that looks like it's been closed down for a while. He uses the heat from a Zippo to break the sprinkler thing that puts the water down, and the Sanderson sisters get very nervous because he tells them it's bad and he runs. That's the first time he tricks them.
Tom,
Yeah, I had kind of the same thing. I suppose we could adjust. I mean, one could say the first time he tricks them is with the Zippo lighter, because they say he has fire in his hand. Fire comes out of his hand. Um, but then, yeah, the rest is like, I am Max the Great, and this is the reign of terror. And he holds the lighter up to the sprinkler. Water comes out.
You're both going to get 2 points. No one's going to get the extra point. I was looking for burning rain of death. That's
Okay.
what the sprinklers were. On those
Okay.
lines, the other time in the house that he tricked them was daylight savings time.
Mhm.
At the end, they thought they were melting and dying because they had the SUV outside with the lights on.
Mhm.
So those are two prominent
What-
ones.
I won't. I won't
If
go.
it's
I was going to ask,
questions,
when is daylight savings time invented?
Wasn't that a Ben Franklin thing?
Was that a Ben Franklin? Okay, so that
So it would
would
have been
not have
after.
been. Yeah,
Yeah, they would. That would have been a new word for them. They picked that up at the party.
Mhm.
it started. Oh, I know. I'm actually looking up in Google. It's giving me the dates. It started on April 30th, 1916. Wait, that can't
Yeah.
be right.
Oh, then maybe it was not Ben Franklin. Maybe it was a more modern. Maybe because the electric light, and they were like, we're trying to save power. Anybody been on the Carousel of Progress recently?
What the hell's the carousel? of
No.
progress?
First, it was first. You know
It's
what?
a
Though?
great
No.
big,
Your Ben
beautiful
Franklin reference. It
tomorrow.
says it was first proposed by Ben Franklin in 1784.
Mhm.
I don't know. This is a rabbit hole we don't need to go down for this episode.
I just imagine him like, and then I told him, let's play with the clocks twice a year.
This is actually funny.
Oh.
In a satirical letter to the editor, the Journal of Paris, Franklin suggested that waking up earlier in the summer would economize on candle usage and calculated considerable savings. So you got to save that candle usage.
Actually, that probably would have saved a lot of money. Candles are decently pricey back then.
It's time for question 3.
When the three witches' brooms get stolen, what is their alternate transportation to fly? I need all three.
Oh, how 3 different ways they fly?
The vehicles, Tom. The vehicles. What
Oh,
vehicles?
there's 3 of
do
them.
they use?
There's 3 different
Each
vehicles.
one uses something to fly.
Oh, Lord.
Locked in?
I don't know.
Oh, and Tom, I hope I'm not misleading you with the word vehicle. I'm using the word vehicles.
Yeah, I
Device,
I
apparatus.
I thought one was like a janitor's broom. I honestly don't remember. I'll go with the janitor's broom.
Lock in first.
Lock in. Okay.
Tom.
I'm gonna go with a janitor's broom, a log, and a pail.
Okay, KJ.
I think it was a modern broom, like you're saying, Tom, a janitor's broom. Had like the metal. A mop was what Sarah Jessica Parker was on, and then the vacuum was the punchline to this joke.
Oh, okay.
The vacuum.
So Tom did get the broom right, so I will give him partial credit with 1 point, and KJ will get 3 points. So going into the last question, KJ is in the lead with 6 points, and Tom is trailing just by a little bit at 4 points. So it's anyone's game. 4 points on the line.
It's time for question 4.
There are many occurrences in which the Sanderson sisters are unaware of modern conventions. However, there is a throwaway joke by Winifred that doesn't follow this lack of understanding. What is the joke? She knows something modern she shouldn't know and makes a joke.
Oh God, I know it. What is it?
It's all on the line here. It's a valid
Lord,
question.
I know.
Locked in. Locked
wait,
in.
Wait,
locked
I
in.
God
Locked
damn.
in.
I can't
Hold
curse.
Pretty
up.
sure. Locked
Just
in.
give me
Not on the line here. Hold the points.
Oh my God. I can picture the scene. I don't remember.
You gonna lock in for a guess?
I'll lock in, and she says,
There's a chance KJ doesn't have it. So.
well, then he wins, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I got like I joke about I don't remember. I honestly just I it's driving me crazy. What is it, KJ?
It's all good. It's all good. KJ, do you know it?
I think so. I think she's vaguely familiar with the New York State driving situation and asks,
Yes!
what's his name if he has his permit?
Yes, do
His
you have
driving permit.
driving permit?
While
They
he's
are
flying by.
fleeing the witches, and
Mhm.
she flies up beside him and asks him to pull over so she can see his driver's permit. How would she know about driver's permits?
God, I could picture the scene. I just couldn't get the words out.
Congratulations to KJ. I just thought that was funny because they really laid it on thick that they had no clue of like modern conventions like roads and like firemen being witch hunters and just like all this other stuff. And she's like, yeah, let me see your driver's permit.
Yeah, it's consistency
Funny.
is not this movie's strength.
No. It was funny to me though. I can't say it's not a fourth wall break or anything, but it really did kind of throw you out of what they were trying to go for a little bit. We'll be diving into our topic of the week, annual holiday tradition films, right after this quick break.
We'll be right back with more conversation. Return with us if you dare.
Join another Talking Studios production, Limited Lexicon, where we play through text-based adventure games. Text-based adventure games were computer games from before computers had graphics. The game uses text to describe a scene, and the player types back how they want to interact with the game. I'll read the text from the computer, and my co-host will feed me commands. This season, we're playing through The Hobbit from 1982 on the ZX Spectrum. Here's a quick sample.
I thought a lot about our first command, and I think it should be no print because we don't want to print things as we're going along.
I think by default, it's not going to print. And even if I did type print, where is it going to print to? 1982?
I would imagine if we go west, we're going to be south of the troll, right? Just south of the troll land.
Yeah, let's try it.
You go west. The troll's clearing. The visible...
Oh, we died.
Oh.
All right.
The troll saw us and killed us.
So I think we have to say the answer to the riddle then.
The answer is dark.
Say dark, I think.
Talk to what?
Gollum.
Say Gollum, dark.
You talk to Gollum. Thorin says, hurry up.
And we died.
And we died.
So we went northeast last time. So let's go southwest.
You go southwest. Visible exits are north, northwest. You see the valuable golden ring.
Oh.
We're ending it here. That's
Wait.
perfect.
All
That's
right.
perfect.
Limited Lexicon, coming to your podcatcher and YouTube in late 2022 by Talking Studios.
And we're back. In addition to the timing of this film to the soon-to-be-released sequel of Hocus Pocus 2 many, many years later, I wanted to bring this one up this week to talk about not specifically this film, but films that are annual holiday traditions. And the reason I bring this up is, even though it wasn't one of my annual traditions, nor anyone on this podcast, my extended family has an affinity towards this film and is one that they do watch on a regular basis. I thought it'd be fun to explore other films that are holiday traditions, or what makes something worthy of a film that we could see on a regular basis or seasonal basis.
It's interesting. This movie did pretty poorly in the box office when it was first released. I think it was fourth in its opening weekend, which, isn't great for a movie like this.
Yeah, but if you compare it to some of the movies that, write that list of movies at the top of this episode.
Yeah.
might not be. I mean, maybe they
Well,
came out
also
of them.
talking about one of the films from that list, The Nightmare Before Christmas actually had mixed results when it first came out and became a cult classic years later.
That's also true of It's a Wonderful Life, which also was not well received when it first came out and became popular as a Christmas classic years later. And so there's something interesting. There's something sort of, I think, intersecting here between sort of cult classics and maybe holiday classics a little bit.
True,
And maybe
yeah.
just that the holiday is a prompt for doing this kind of cult thing, right? That's kind of how holidays work. I mean, a cult is a term for a religious group after all, if we use it in a non-judgmental way, use that word in a non-judgmental way. And so it seems to make sense that we would regularly rewatch these kind of odd movies during religious festivals or religious breaks, however you want to phrase it. What's interesting to me is that these American movies tend to find new life in their audiences, in their new audiences, in the audiences they establish through the cult practice, almost as if these movies aren't actually particularly good as blockbusters or as something to go to the theater, but rather they're good as, or they're enjoyable rather, as an object that you are familiar with and you can kind of chat along with, you can participate in. And it's probably a very hard movie to enjoy if you haven't seen it already. You're just kind of sitting back and letting things happen. But if you can participate in it in a certain way, and the most extreme case of this is Frankenfooter, right? The oh god, what's it called? Dr. Frankenfooter with Tim Curry and Suzanne, and you
Never
know who
heard
I'm
of it,
talking
Tom.
about?
Never
No,
heard about this. Sorry, Tom.
the Rocky Horror Picture Show. There it is.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Rocky Horror Picture Show is like the gold standard for group participation. That's the whole point of it.
But
And I
that's
think
not holiday based, right? That's just more
that
cult
isn't
following.
holiday based, though it is
Yeah.
a Halloween movie of sorts. I mean, it's using Halloween tropes, but I think there's something there in which these movies connect to points in the year in which we all take a break and come together. And they're not popular in their own time, but they're popular once their audience is able to participate in their pleasure. That seems to be what's going on here. Otherwise, like I actually don't think It's a Wonderful Life is that great a film. However, I can appreciate the fact that I've actually done radio stages of It's a Wonderful Life before. And you just get a ton of people to come, and theaters kind of do this thing to get a little extra money, and it really works because people love it, because they're able to kind of participate, not necessarily in a Rocky Horror Picture Show way, but in a sort of vicarious, familiar way.
Yeah, and I guess back in the day, right, a movie like Hocus Pocus comes out in theaters, it does whatever it does, and then it's either very rentable or maybe they play it on TV during Halloween, and that's what establishes the nostalgia. Nowadays, movies are more available than ever, but all movies are more available than ever. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of traditions occur from a more modern time when everybody can have their own tradition and it's not as much as a monoculture, a group tradition. So, in other words, will there be a second life for some of these movies? Because if my kids watch the Kurt Russell Christmas Chronicles, I think it's called, that's on Netflix, and they'll watch it every year and they love it and they enjoy it. But if somebody else doesn't have Netflix, or if they found another Netflix Christmas movie they liked, they might never have hit play on the Kurt Russell one.
Yeah, that's it gets back to our conversation about the kind of global village that we had with Videodrome, where Marshall McLuhan is wrong that these kind of technologies don't create the global village, they create a sort of plurality, right, that anybody can access. And it's an interesting plurality because it's not geographical, it's spread out thanks to the internet, but the form will still be the same, right? Your daughters, if in fact they like this Kurt Russell movie, will see that every year and be able to quote it, to slow down during particular scenes that they like, to go to the bathroom or get food during scenes that are kind of filler or not that interesting, that they're able to adjust the rhythm of their celebration to the film itself.
Do you guys have any holiday tradition films? And if so, how did they get established? How did they kind of get into the cycle?
So I thought about that a lot when you had brought up the topic on the text thread. The only thing I could think of is growing up, we had a VHS tape with a few different Christmas shorts on it. It certainly had the Rudolph claymation, the stop motion Rudolph. It had Mickey's Christmas Carol. But what I remember most about that tape is the ads that were on it. It had a Sony Walkman ad. I like Max. I like Tony. But what I like best is my first Sony. Like those kind of. um, but apart from that, I couldn't really think of any. Certainly not a Halloween tradition. Tom, did you have any Tom traditions?
So my father really loves A Christmas Carol, and he likes the 1930s one with Alistair Sims, which is a really excellent version of that story. And my father absolutely adores it and watches it every year, despite having, I think he owns most of the, if not all of the Christmas Carol versions. I think he's only missing the Henry Winkler one, which might remain missing. We also, though, to speak what you're talking about, KJ, and I think this is part of the nostalgia element to all this, we had a taped version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the claymation one. And part of the joy of that is the commercials. As much as the actual entertainment. I mean, the old Hess truck commercials are on there. These different things.
The Hershey Kisses doing the ringing bells.
Yes, very good.
And
yes.
then there's a McDonald's ad that I don't remember what was said in it, but I can distinctly remember the feel of that one. The Campbell soup where the kid's a snowman and the snowman melts and then it's a kid and he's eating soup.
Yes, I remember that one well too. Yeah.
And then a Trapper Keeper ad just to put a date
just
on
to
this.
throw it in there. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because then now watching that tape, and I don't even know if we have it anymore, but I think watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on YouTube or on a streaming service or whatnot would somewhat lose the pleasure because the full nostalgic effect is not present because we've lost those advertisements. And that's really interesting. I had that same response, that same kind of thing. We watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and enjoy these old ads, these kind of 80s or 90s ads. And maybe that's part of this as well, is that because you're reliving something, right? You are then reliving something. It's nostalgia. Nostalgia is the pain for the past, that sort of wonderful pain for the past. And
I can feel the carpet that I was laying down on when I was watching it. You can remember what your living room kind of looked like, felt like. I can hear that grandfather clock chiming throughout but that tape would transport you back. Whereas,
exactly.
You say, Tom, a great quality high def stream wouldn't do it quite the same, probably.
Yeah, and I think that maybe that's part of it too, is that ritual is a sort of conservative thing. And again, I don't mean politically conservative. I just mean in the sense of that it preserves something of the past, right? It allows us to partake in something that is older than ourselves. And it may be that these movies have such an appeal because they somehow manufacture that, right? They manufacture that nostalgia, that ability to participate in the past, which is very similar to these kind of religious rituals or secular rituals, if it's Thanksgiving or something like that. So maybe like the advertisements, and like you're saying, KJ, the feel of the carpet, like what your living room or your parents' living room looked like. You can't go back, right? Your parents' living room looked like when you were 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. And those are the best Christmases. When you were 7, there's no Christmas that's going to be that great. Sorry folks, if you're 6. And maybe that's why these movies are so much fun for people to revisit.
Listening to you guys talk about these, I was thinking about some of the ones that I have, or to be quite honest, may even add. So one of the films that we watched in an earlier season of this show was the original Halloween, and I got experience to that a few years ago. That's one, again, a little bit more serious than Hocus Pocus, but one I could actually see revisiting on an annual basis around Halloween time, because that one is not just your blood count, or excuse me, body count, blood slasher. Like there's a little bit more depth to that and a little bit more intrigue. The other ones that I do have in my list of holiday traditions, one of them just straight up is Home Alone around Christmas. We always watch Home Alone, and it's on TV plenty of times. It's one of those ones where I can jump in the middle if I need to, which is very rare. Usually I have to watch a movie all the way through. But interestingly enough, the one that I experienced as a child and have lost from the tradition that I'd like to bring back. In fact, I'm even recommending it to be one of our holiday films this year, is a version of The Christmas Carol. This version was a TV movie starring George C. Scott, and my father had taped it on a VHS. So it's funny what you guys were saying about the different ads. And I vividly remember this was the early 80s, that there was an IBM personal computer ad with a Charlie Chaplin lookalike that frequently showed up in between the scenes of A Christmas Carol. I really do enjoy that version. And again, it's a TV movie. I think it's really well done, and I'm looking forward to exploring that with everyone when we do get to the holidays. But there was one of those scenes where you think back of when you were a child. He was in his dark room right before the ghosts come in, and he's eating this stew by the fire. And I used to get my ice cream and make it real mushy and make it like I was eating the stew with him. So that was just one of those vivid memories I had as a child and always think about when I watch that film.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice memory.
Well, to start a new tradition of me winning, I'd like to congratulate myself unhumbly, unlike Nick. I'll be the arrogant one this evening, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Bah humbug.
Scary. Tom,
You
I
can find-
put a spell on you.
You can find more of our content wherever you listen to podcasts, on our YouTube channel, Twitter @Talking Studios, and our website, talkingpicturestrivia.com. We're extremely grateful to all those who subscribe, like, follow, and leave a review. What movies do you currently watch as a holiday tradition, and why? Let us know on Twitter, talkingpicturestrivia@gmail.com, or give us a call at 201-467-8679.
You can find me on Twitter at ThomasLehman15.
You can find me on Twitter at KJ10001000.
Join us next time when we discuss Halloween from 2019 to prepare for the final Halloween movie in the new trilogy. Stay tuned for our first impressions of this film.
Ding, 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 ding.
Next week, we'll be discussing Halloween from 2018. Tom, how was your watch?
I watched this for the first time today before recording. I hadn't seen it before. I watched it on the computer. It's a very odd movie, and I think we could get into that in the episode. It reads as a memorialization of the original, and that's really about it. But what's odd about it is the director is so good with these kind of younger actors, David Gordon Green, the director, that this memorial piece that I'm not entirely sure why it exists has these like patches of nice acting work and really kind of funny work with these younger actors who are really compelling. And so the experience is this very odd kind of yin yang back and forth between the kind of some more hokey references and style a la the original Halloween, and these small, somewhat improv feeling scenes with these younger actors. So it was, I found it to be a kind of odd experience. Chris, how was your first impression?
I remember seeing this movie in the theaters when it first came out because I'm a huge Halloween fan. The 1978 version is my favorite slasher of all time. So I was really excited to see this one, especially because it was going to kind of retcon some of the really bad Halloween movies that came afterwards. So I do like it. I 100% agree with what Tom said about there being a little bit of like half the movie is nostalgia driven, half the movie is like kind of good. But at the same time, I was 100% for it just because I love the Halloween franchise. So I really liked it. And if you haven't seen it, you should definitely give this a watch. What about you, KJ? What about your first impression?
I really like this movie too, guys. I really like Jamie Lee Curtis in it. I really liked how a lot of the scenes from the original movie, she was where Mike Myers would have been. There was a lot of play with that. And audience, I've only seen the original and then these new ones, and I believe it's a direct sequel to that original. So you don't need to go through the other movies that Chris was talking about. So jump right on and check out Halloween 2018. I really thought it was a lot of fun. The movie moves. There's no slowness. It just, I thought it was a well put together movie. I really like the intro, the opening, bringing the characters back and how they're introduced. How about you, Nick? What'd you think?
I'm not always into slasher films, but as I was telling my co-host here before we started, I thought this one was tastefully done. I am a big fan of the original Halloween, but then as all the franchises developed, they got crazy and they were just like body counts. I'm talking about all of them, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. This one gave me more of the vibes from the first film. And I don't mean just pure nostalgia, but the way the body counts happened. Okay. Some of them weren't just to add a giant number and we're not paying attention. Oh, how many people died now? There actually was kind of story. And sometimes he was belligerent about it. Sometimes he was nonchalant about it. It was interesting to see how it evolved. I'm going to save the rest of it for the episode, but I did enjoy this one, especially within this genre. Definitely does not compete directly with the first one. That's my favorite so far of all slasher films, if we want to categorize them as that. I think it was the original that inspired all the rest. But this one was a good addition to the franchise, especially comparing it to other ones that were sequels in the past, which I'm glad technically do not exist in this timeline.
Walking up to the theaters in 1993.
Start over. Sorry, I think you got blocked. Yeah.
That might have just been my voice.
No, I think your mic actually like blocked you out.
Oh, okay, because it was too sultry. That happens.
Yes, pretty much.
You got to turn off the sultry sensor
Yeah.
setting on your
Sorry.
mic. Maybe leave it on. Maybe leave it on.